Hello and welcome to the Lady Sows. Today I thought I'd do a bit of a video on what I'm going to be sowing in June. I've seen people posted this, you must sow this in June, or you've got to sow that in June. My feeling is you can actually sow whatever you like, but this is what I'm sowing. I'm going to explain why I'm sowing it and why I'm sowing it now. There's not a lot of plants that you need to sow in June. There's some successional sowing. You know, we're probably all thinking, I've actually got no space left. Where am I going to plant any June sown plants? But there's always plants that are going to be coming to an end. For example, my overwintered onions will be finished by the end of June, and I'm going to interplant autumn cabbages between them. The garlic will also be ready between the middle and the second half of June, mainly because of rust, which we all seem to suffer with now, and they've not managed so far to develop a rust-free variety. I've got very early peas, Oscar, which are now coming into pod. This pods are gradually starting to swell. Now they will also be finished in June. So there's 3 examples of where space is going to be freed up to plant other things. The other thing for June is thinking about the heat. So I'm going to be sowing, what do I do with all my plants? All their seeds are all down here. The first thing I'm going to be sowing is some lettuces. And the reason I'm sowing it now is that lettuces need slightly cooler conditions to germinate. They won't germinate in the heat of July and August. So to get them to germinate in cooler conditions, and then they can be planted out. I've got lettuces that I sowed early at the end of winter and planted out in early spring, and they will be coming to an end in June. They will start to bolt. So this is really just offering a bit of a succession. I only eat lettuce through the summer. It's not, I know some people grow it all year round, but I don't see any point in eating lettuce in the winter. There's lots of other nice vegetables to eat in the winter. So I'm going to be growing, I'll put these down here. I'm going to be growing 3 varieties of lettuce now. I'm going to be sowing 3 varieties of lettuce. A lot will depend on what germinates, of course, which it always does. And the 3 that I'm doing are a salad rocket, which says you can sow it up till August. If you were to sow it in August, you'd have to keep it cool, and it would, take you right through to the autumn. I'm sowing this one, which is a lettuce called Annalena. I will put some pictures up. Annalena, and this says that you can harvest 10 to 12 weeks after sowing, but I tend to pick the leaves off, so of course I'll be harvesting a lot quicker than that. That's probably for it to form a headed lettuce. It's a soft-headed lettuce, the sort you see in the supermarket. And the other one I'm doing is a Lola Rosso. I've not had a lot of success with this, that I've sown it before, so it could be that it was packed in, how it was packed in July 26, I've got no idea, because we haven't got to there yet. But anyway, probably packed for year ending July 26. So these should be fairly fresh, these seeds. I'm not going to sow that many. There's only 2 of us live here. Let's get some compost up here and fill this tray up. Now what I'm going to do is this little seed tray. I'm going to put these little coloured thingies in to divide them, so I know what I'm growing where. I've got my labels here. So the first one is the Lola Rossa. And it is the 2nd of June today. So I'm just going to sprinkle a few of these on here just to so we've got a few. As I say, we don't need many. I'm not selling them commercially or anything like that. That'll do. That'll give me quite a lot actually, and I can always give them away. The seedlings, my fellow plot holders down at the allotment are always keen to have any spares that I have. So this one is Annalena. Actually, one of the things I found quite interesting about lettuce seeds that sometimes the different colours of, you know, whether it's green or a red lettuce, will sometimes give you different coloured seeds, but these ones all look like they're a similar shade of cream. And then the last one is the rocket. Rocket is a nice peppery salad leaf, so just gives a bit more interest in a salad rather than just plain old green lettuce really. And that's the only reason I sow all these different varieties. It's just all the. So now this is very interesting because this rocket is actually related to the brassica family. So the seeds actually look a bit like brassica seeds, you know, cauliflowers, cabbages, that sort of thing. So I'll put a bit of compost on top. I sometimes use vermiculite, but I haven't got that with me. It's my garage at the moment, so this will have to do. So I've just given it a light covering. I will give that a water everything from the bottom so that it doesn't disturb the seeds. Let me just get that out a bit higher so I can see it's different. Right, where shall I put that? There's never any room here. I'll put that down there for now. Now, one of the other things I'm sowing today is wallflowers. If you live in the south, you can probably get away with not sowing these for another month, but I'm sowing them now because they're quite. This is something I don't sow every year because I've found that if you cut them back in the spring, they'll often come back and you get a second year out of them. I'm not sure. It just says these are called a Fair Lady mix, so I've got no idea what they are. So hopefully it will be yellow and red. And I think, can you get orange wallflowers? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm sowing a few of those, and we will have these for both the garden and the allotment. What does it say on there? Traditional wall, but made in more pastel shades. Oh, well, that's it. That sounds interesting. Now, when it comes to flowers, I use these coloured labels, and that way it's easy for me to differentiate in when it's, you know, when my greenhouse is absolutely full. What are flowers and what are vegetables? So that's, I've just put a date on it. Not that I record dates in the same way for the flowers, but it just gives me a bit of an idea. Put a bit of compost on there, as I say, and they'll be all pricked out once they've germinated. Now, the next thing I'm going to sow, I'll put those to one side, these and that to one side and these one side. I'll put these over here, is some calabrese or broccoli, whatever you want to call it. This is for autumn cropping. So this is a variety called Marathon F1. I'll show you the packet. So if I sow them now, these will be ready to harvest probably at the end of autumn. Ones that I sowed in February, bearing in mind we had some cold weather in April, May. And then of course that hot weather at the bank holiday weekend. they'll be ready for harvesting, I would think, by the end of this week, at least one of them, but they're all getting heads on them. So Calabrese. I can't do two things at once. I can't talk and fill this in. Now this is an F1 variety, so you do tend to get a bit of uniformity, but as I say, I've got one that's nearly ready and the other two are quite small, so that's quite good really, because the only problem with F1 varieties is that sometimes they all become ready at once and then you just don't know what to do with them. And that, I suppose, is the big difference between F1s and open pollinated, is that open pollinated tend to I only want about 5 or 6 of these. Open pollinated do tend to sort of come along as almost like a bit of a succession really. So for the home gardener, it's absolutely ideal, because as I say, you don't want, but F1 varieties were developed for the farming industry, so that because farmers want everything to be ready at the same time. We as gardeners don't, but more effort is put into F1 seeds, so you do tend to get better quality seeds from F1 varieties. Now these next 2, 3 might seem a bit, well, why is she sowing them now? It's only the beginning of June. And the reason is because of where I live, but also they're quite slow growing, and these are winter cabbages. And I know we've only just arrived into summer, but winter cabbages do take a long time to actually grow and to produce a head, and they do continue to grow through the winter, albeit rather slowly, and that's what you want. You want them to be starting to, as we head into winter, to be actually starting to firm up, and then you want them to carry on firming up so that you've got these to harvest all through the winter. And I'm doing 3 varieties. They're all a Savoy type cabbage, because they're the ones that are the most winter hardy. I'm doing January King, which is this one here. As I say, perhaps I better put a picture up. I'm doing a cabbage called Deedon, which I've got no picture for. And I'm doing a one called Savoy Veritas, which again, I don't have any picture for. And the last thing that I'm sowing for autumn, late autumn stroke winter, is kale. It's like a Cavionero kale, except this one's called blue, a dazzling blue kale. So it's, what does it say here? Originally bred for home gardeners by Hank Keel of Gathering Together Farm, a blue-green Savoy palm kale with a pink midrib, eye-catching, excellent flavour and very winter hardy. So very much like the green Cavionero, but as I say, blue. So that's what I'm going to be sowing here. I'm not going to sow many seeds because I don't need many plants. For some reason or other, I sowed them too late last year, and they never really grew very big at all. They were late going in the ground. It was just about everything that I could have done wrong, I did, for some strange reason. I'm just trying to think what I might have been doing last year. Probably busy as usual. So I want to get a bit of ahead of the game. And as I say, if what I don't plant, other people down at the allotment will usually take them off my hands. At least one chap will always take things off my hands, which is really quite good. And what's the last one I've got? Oh yes, January King. Now I know a lot of people will sow directly into cell trays when they're doing this sort of thing, but this takes up less space for me. At the moment, my greenhouse is quite full. I've still got all my peppers and chilies to be planted at the allotment, which I haven't been able to do because I'm growing them in a sort of tentafair, and the I haven't been able to get the tent up because I was just so busy. We've been away. We were away twice in May. We went away just before the bank holiday weekend, and when I came back, we all know how hot the bank holiday weekend was. I did manage to get quite a lot planted, actually. I got all my beans and my squashes and sweet corn. I did get a lot planted. I was going to the allotment at 6 o'clock in the morning and just doing a couple of hours, coming home for breakfast, and then going back, doing another couple of hours, and then going back in the evening and doing another hour or so. So I did work quite hard this weekend, and then I was away for half term. I went down to my daughter, and then this weekend I was weeding. I mean, oh my goodness, I cannot believe the weeds. With, of course, having had some rain, we've had some rain even though parts of the country haven't, and then on top of that, all that heat. Well, you couldn't see some of the plants for the weeds. It took me hours to get all the weeding done. So that's the kale. What's this one here? This one here is the Savoy Veritas. So I must admit, I do enjoy the winter vegetables in the winter. Cabbages, sprouts, which are already in the ground, which I sowed ages ago. The cabbages, kale, Brussels sprouts. I love that. Absolutely love those in the winter. They're great for making like a winter slaw. Just to make something a bit different. My red cabbages are all ready to go in. What's that? This is the January King one. Oh, I can't get into this packet. I must admit that we are not 100% sufficient in vegetables, because I'm not sure that you ever can be. We eat tomatoes all year round. I don't grow celery because I just can't get that to grow. I just can't give it enough water. And of course I don't grow mushrooms. But most other vegetables, it's very rare that I go and buy vegetables of any description. I'd like to know why my shopping bill is so high. But there you go. It's thinking about, what are you going to grow in the winter? And of course, it's no use waiting until September, October for things to grow in the winter, because they're not going to do anything because of our climate. So you do have to think earlier in the year about winter growing. I remember when I first got the allotment, my children bought me a book called Winter Growing, and I was that excited. I think only to discover that I'd missed the boat with the sowing for winter. Now the other thing I'm going to sow today, which might seem even more bizarre than sowing cabbages for winter, is purple and white sprouting broccoli. I've realised I haven't got any purple sprouting broccoli, so I've just ordered some that'll come in the next few days. Now this is a white sprouting broccoli, which just looks exactly the same as a purple sprouting broccoli, except it's earlier. So this will be ready for picking probably January, February, where the purple sprouting broccoli tends to be more April. So it means that you've probably got more of a cover of the hungry gap. I've not tried this. This is a new to me plant or variety. I've grown purple sprouting broccoli for years. I absolutely love it, and it's just so wonderful in that very early spring to have trains just gone past. Have that very early spring to actually have something that's a bit different. It's a bit fresher. So by the end of there, I'm getting sick of eating cabbage and kale, and the kale is starting to go to seed anyway, and the cabbages have probably all been eaten. So I just thought I would try this white sprouting broccoli to just so that we have got just another vegetable in the spring. So actually, yes, but sprouting broccoli takes a long time to grow. It's very slow growing. So although I'm sowing these now, and they will be pricked out and put into seed trays and modules and then pricked on. There's not that many seeds in here by the looks of it. How have they fastened this down? They use sellotape. Oh yes, oh God, I hate sellotape. And seed packets. How are you supposed to get it off? Right, how many seeds have I got in? Very few. Oh, I don't need that many. I only want about 4 plants, I think. I'll put in 5 seeds. That leaves me a few for hopefully next year. Although I do tend to find that smaller seeds don't really, you know, they don't survive that well. You can save them from one year to the next, but I often find that you either get poorer germination or they're not as vigorous. So, and these are these are an heirloom sprouting broccoli, so they're not an F1 variety. So there's every possibility that the vigor next year will be lower because they were new this year. Anyway, I shall give all of these a water. Now, the other things I am going to be sowing later on in the month are carrots for winter and autumn. I grow 2 varieties. I grow Autumn King and I grow Eskimo. Now, Eskimo carrots can actually stay in the ground all over winter if you can keep the carrot root fly off them. And then there'll be turnips, and there will be fennel. Forest fennel I sow after the summer solstice. They need a long growing season too. They need a lot of growing. I've got fennel in the ground at the moment at the allotment, and I've started to pick it because it will start to bolt soon. That's its natural cycle to do that. If you sow it after the summer solstice, then it has time to produce quite decent size bulbs before the frosts hit. And as I say, they are slow to grow. So I sowed the ones that I'm eating, just harvesting now. I sowed it on the 14th of February, and this is now, beginning of June. And I'm only just starting to harvest them, and they're not really that big. But I thought if I leave them too long, they're just going to run to seed, and then I'll have lost the whole crop. And what a waste of time that would have all been. Spinach has gone to seed now. I won't be sowing spinach until after the summer solstice. Coriander I won't be sowing till much later. So because at this time of the year, those sorts of plants just completely go to seed. I won't be sowing any more radishes now until it gets cooler. For exactly the same reason. Radishes just run to seed at this time of the year. So anyway, so that's some of the things I'm going to be sowing in June as the month goes on, and I've made a start. So anyway, well, thanks very much for watching. I think this has probably dragged on long enough. And I hope to catch you another time. Bye for now. Bye.